They say buying and selling a boat is the best time of a boat owner's life. Well, I don't know who they are, but they must live in the seven pillars of hell because I've never experienced that. My experience has been quite the opposite. Buying or selling my boat has been some of the most trying times of my life. In fact, I think I should have been on a suicide watch list last time I sold my sailboat. And selling a ski boat years and years ago seemed to be okay until I couldn't find the one I wanted after that, and went into depression. And well, I just keep going on and on here, but I've never experienced that to be good. I've experienced that to be bad. So owning a boat is fantastic, and maybe that's the difference between they and us, because we love boats. All right, I'm going to get into buying boats right now. Boom. And not to be vague about what type of boats. I'm looking at a sailboat, and power boats can be much the same as far as some of the difficulties and the perils of hell that I talk about when trying to buy a boat. Let's get into it really quick, and let's take a look at some of the resources you might have to look for a boat and some of the pitfalls and things that I'm learning along the way. But one of them, let's turn around right here. This is boats.com. And I'm going to set you guys up so you can see. And this little boat happens to look really nice. It's a Tartan 42, a very seaworthy boat, and looks to be really nice. And we start to go through this. It's kind of in my local area. And here's where things start to go south. Start to go south, I say, because this is part of the problem. These pictures, and I've looked them up everywhere, are really actually quite beautiful. And when I go, let's see, we'll get look at the teak work, looks really nice. The wheel looks nice. It's got a new arch on it. It's got solar panels. The solar panels are new. It's got this brand new self-steering vane. And then we look at the teak work going down below. Looks really nice. And we go below, and it looks nice here. Okay. That's not the way this boat looks. These pictures were probably taken when this owner bought it, or maybe the owner before him. I actually went and looked at this boat, and it is horrible, in just unbelievably terrible condition. Let's go back here. Let's go. If I go back up to the top, the deck, there's no varnish whatsoever on these hatches. They look like they're weathered and worn. So they're worn down, and these are all completely weathered. There's no varnish on any of these pieces here. All of this stainless steel is varnished to where it looks terrible. And and then this brand new wind vane on here is completely tarnished, pitted, and rusty all over it. These lines look like they're about to give way. This boat is horribly old. When I went and looked at it, I said, when were these pictures taken? He said, a couple of years ago. A couple of years ago? He says, well, maybe 10. And then finally, after we're looking at the boat, I'm like, are you sure 10? And he goes, well, it could have been 15. So 15, maybe 20 years ago, those pictures were taken, and still that's what they're showing the boat to look like. All right, so that's a troublesome thing, but you can easily get away from that by just quickly asking, when you call any of these brokers, when were the pictures taken? And usually I'll get an answer back that says, oh, they were taken last month. But normally they've been taken over a year ago on most the ones that I've looked at. So don't expect the pictures to be representative of the boat you're going to go look at. All right, let's get looking at some more here. All right, so that was one resource, which is boats.com. Craigslist is a good place to look at boats. And they tend to be, interestingly enough, maybe, let's get this focused down here so you can see what I'm talking about. So this, let's look at a couple here. This boat right here, it's a 1989 Fortuna. Now this boat is on Craigslist. It's probably been listed here for, 6 months to a year maybe. And I will tell you, I personally went and looked at this boat. It looks better in person than these pictures look. It's amazing looking. It looks brand new in and out, and you just can't tell from these photographs. Just absolutely gorgeous, gorgeous boat. Really wanted to make an offer on this boat. My problem with the boat, and it's really hard to tell in any of these pictures because they really don't show. But here you can see, if I got a little closer, it is a tiller operated boat, and a lot of people love that. And I actually would have been fine with that, but in the cockpit, there's no room for anybody else in the cockpit once you're using the tiller. It has a really nice self-steering vane on it. It's in good condition. This boat right here is an excellent example, and I would say, you know, for this guy to post such honest, perfect pictures, because the boat looks better in person. And really the price, this was the next issue, it really wasn't the price, but Fortuna, it's a Fortuna 37, and Fortuna made a few boat hulls, and then they made some catamarans, and then they went out of business. Fortuna, for their monohull, there's some discussion between Bruce Roberts and Fortuna, and Bruce Roberts was claiming they stole the designs from them instead of purchasing the designs. There was never a lawsuit filed, and I think if they really did, I think there would be a lawsuit would have been filed. They didn't make that many of these boats. They didn't make a lot of money. They probably made no money. And they just built the hulls, and then the owners built out the rest of the boats. So I'm not sure that there's validity to that, but Bruce Roberts has a blacklist on this boat, and it's one of the reasons I did not buy it, because I did not want to have a boat with some kind of a blacklist history. So there's a lot of things to look at, guys. And so that's, if we go back a little bit, and I know this has taken a long time, but it's worth checking out. So, you know, Beneteau is another wonderful boat. I hadn't taken a look at this, but I've owned a Beneteau. I absolutely loved it. So this was worth looking at. It's a 36-foot boat. It's close by. Another place to look would be Yacht World, and I think most people end up at yachtworld.com at some point because it's a great resource. Again, you need to consider asking the brokers or the listing agent or the owner when the pictures were taken. A lot of times it's from when they bought the boat, or pictures that they had on file, not either the actual boat, and sometimes boat from 10, 20 years ago, if you're looking at an older boat, which I certainly am. But back to this, now here's a problem with Yacht World, at least that I had, and that is getting an agent or a broker to ever call you back. Making lots and lots of calls, looking, and you can look up history on these boats too, and sometimes you can find the owner, and on some of these I found the owner, I sent them emails with no response back whatsoever. A lot of these boats have been listed for multiple years. One of the boats I kept looking at is a Hunter 45, and I really, you know, I love the layout of the Hunter, and the Hunter 45 has the right ballast for what my purpose is. It has the right, the weight, all the weight characteristics. It's got a really good layout inside, large, wide decks. And then the cockpit is pretty large as well, and I really do like that. So I'm going to go take a look at one of those boats. So Yacht World is yet another place to look for boats. You can go down and look at your local broker, and look on their wall and ask them in person. That may be the best way to get results. I've called brokers 10 to 15 times, never getting a response back. Finding out that later that they're not the listing agent on the boat. They just posted it out there to try to get calls. Well, they're getting calls, but they're not calling back. It's very, very frustrating. One of the things I will mention, I say it is very difficult to get a hold of these brokers or the owners. And, they'll list a phone number. They'll list a contact email address. You can look up the broker's website and then look up phone numbers there. They may list, so like the email that goes from Yacht World, I've never got a response. Well, actually, that's not true. I got a response from a company in Florida off of the using Yacht World. One company got back to me, and that's fantastic. They're a pretty large company, so they must be on top of that. Most of them aren't. So the listing, they don't go and check that email address or whatever it is that they're that Yacht World is getting back to them. So go look up their broker and then call them directly. Phone call is always the best. Every time I put an email in, it's 2 or 3 weeks, or they just get ignored. So always phone call, phone call, phone call. And today we just don't make phone calls as much. We like texting people. We like sending emails and seeing if we can get responses that way. But when you're buying a boat, you need to talk to them. I know I'm touching base on this twice, but let's take a look at Yacht World here really quick. And when you go to Yacht World, and it's got this thing where you can fill out, and you can put in your phone number, and you can contact the dealership. That's what I'm talking about. That seems to never work. Only one place has gotten back to me from that. They list a phone number there. Sometimes those phone numbers are bogus. So when I look at this, it says Grandpappy Point Marina. I would look that up. I would Google it, and then I would call that number and see if it matches that when it may. And that would be the way to get a hold of them. All right, thanks.